Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank Ranking Member Waters as well. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for helping the committee with its work. Good to see you again. Mr. Secretary, I'm one of those members of Congress that you referred to that grew up in public housing, like Mr. Meeks of New York, grew up in the old Colony Housing Project in South Boston with 5 sisters. It has been described as one of the poorest, predominantly white census tracts in the nation. And we considered ourselves very, very fortunate to have a home, have that home. And listening to this debate here today about the question that was posed earlier, does HUD's affordable housing program work? I guess from listening to the debate, if your family has not struggled, no explanation is possible. But if you have actually lived in public housing, no explanation is necessary. You understand what that means. We talked a little earlier, you know, I've had an opportunity in the last couple of weeks, we cut a ribbon on one of my big veterans housing projects that's coming up. We just broke ground. It's the New England Center for Homeless Veterans, and it's going to provide 38 new permanent supportive housing units for veterans, including a dedicated floor just for women veterans. We've got a lot of them. It's going to renovate 59 existing supportive housing units for veterans, and then it's going to create 165 new units. So it's got everything. It's got, you know, if you've got substance abuse problems, if you've got psychiatric problems, we've got the whole city together. And I want to give credit to Mayor Walsh, Marty Walsh, who's part of this, and also Governor Baker, who's a Republican, but we work together on this. And there is at least a dozen different agencies, city, state, and federal, that have combined on that project. And I've got another one with another project. It's an old police station in my home neighborhood of South Boston, where they're converting this old police station to single unit occupancy units for veterans. So like most communities, we love our veterans, and we want to make sure that their service is remembered, is respected, and rewarded. But I have to say that it has really been a collaboration of a bunch of different projects in trying to figure out all the different aspects of what HUD is doing on behalf of our veterans. And I was wondering, you know, you alluded to it a couple of times in earlier questions, but can you drill down and explain what the Obama administration is doing, what HUD is doing on veterans housing in this country today, and what your most successful models have been in creating that housing?
Yeah, I'm glad to do that. This is a real American success story because President Obama in 2010 became the first president to say, we're not just going to reduce homelessness, we're going to end it, starting with veteran homelessness. And what we've seen since that time, from 2010 to 2014, is a 33% reduction in veteran homelessness through collaboration with Congress that funded HUD-VASH vouchers. So you asked what works. Why are we here? Strong coordination between HUD, the VA, and providers out there on the ground to quickly get veterans into housing. The adoption of smart policies like Housing First. Housing First basically says we're not going to make our veterans jump through hoops, stay a certain number of nights in a shelter or transitional living. We're going to get them into permanent housing right away, because the research is compelling that if you get someone into permanent housing with supportive services, that is a real stabilizing influence on their lives. So they can address then if there's some other issue in their life, perhaps if there's an addiction issue or if there's a mental health issue or other issues. Having that housing is the key to being able to stabilize and address those issues. And what we're seeing now is communities like New Orleans that announced about a month and a half ago that they have effectively eliminated veteran homelessness. And I joined Congressman Green the other day in Houston. Houston has put in place the system to get to functional zero. So this is a real success story that we need to continue to support.
That's great. In closing, I only have 10 seconds left. I just want to say that we've had 2.5 million sons and daughters of America that have served since the first Gulf War. So this is something we're really going to have to focus on. A lot of them have done multiple tours of duty, so obviously they need some help. Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.